to Patriot Network TV. We're doing some reading assignments today, and I want to invite you to get to the Wall Street Journal op-ed page. And this is an op-ed by the great speechwriter Peggy Noonan, who was Ronald Reagan's speechwriter. She is as mainstream a Republican, an establishment Republican as you can find. And her September 17th, 2010 editorial entitled "Why It's Time for the Tea Party," subtitle, "The Populist Movement is More a Critique of the GOP than a Wing of it," is absolutely required reading. It is critical at this point in time for members of the Tea Party, for conservative Americans to stand up as one voice and say, we want the spending to stop. Step 1, stop the spending. Step 2, cut the size of the federal government. Step 3, cut regulation. Step 4, reduce federal spending. It is time, way overdue on time, to get the U.S. federal government off our backs. From George Washington to Jimmy Carter, 1776 until 1980, 204 years. The total federal debt of the United States at the end of the Carter administration is $800 billion. So over 204 years, we ran up an $800 billion debt. Now, from 1980 to 2010, we've run up $13 trillion. We're now at 13 trillion, so 12.2 trillion from 1980 until today. By the end of this fiscal year, we'll be at 15 trillion. The current budget deficit in this year of the Obama administration with a democratically controlled House and Senate, the 11-month mark, according to the CBO, was $1.3 trillion in deficit spending. By the end of the fiscal year, by the 12th month in the fiscal year, we will be at $1.5 trillion for a one-year deficit. Let that sink in. 1776 to 2004, total debt, $800 billion. For 204 years, we ran $800 billion in debt. For 1 year, 2010 fiscal, we've got $1.5 trillion. Twice, almost twice. Miss Noonan is exactly right. The Tea Party is not the conservative wing of the Republican Party. It's not the do-over wing of the Republican Party. The Tea Party is a group of Americans who are demanding that we return to first principles. The basis of the American Revolution was to create a free enterprise entrepreneurial society with a small, limited federal government, states' rights, and control by individuals over their life, over their individual lives and rights, to live, as Jefferson said, independently between the ground and God. The Jeffersonian yeoman, 40 acres, a mule, and multiple weapons. What did Jefferson say? When the government fears the citizen, you have freedom. When the citizen fears the government, you have tyranny. We are living in the tyranny of financial oppression. The financial imperialism of the current administration, both the democratically controlled House and democratically controlled Senate and the White House, is just absolutely leveraging us into debt that we'll never escape from. Just as a quick example, let's say that we got the best people on earth into the Congress of the United States and we started to cut $250 billion a year in spending and put that $250 billion into the payment of the U.S. federal debt. Okay, so $250 billion a year. We got 13 trillion. So 4 years we've paid off 1 trillion. 4 times 13 is 52. It would take 52 years of a $250 billion surplus applied directly to the debt to zero out the debt. From now until 2062, running not just balanced budgets, but surplus budgets of $250 billion each. Can you imagine that? I can't. At the level of spending reduction that the president said we're going to cut $100 million. Well, $100 million makes that equation the equivalent of 2,200 centuries to pay off the federal debt. There is no end in sight to the slavery of the debt that has been foisted upon us by classic liberal thinking. Miss Noonan is right. What the Tea Party is calling for is a return to sanity. It is a return to the core principles of the Founding Fathers. What did Ben Franklin say in Poor Richard's Almanac? Never a borrower or a lender be. We're $13 trillion in debt, heading for $15 trillion in debt. It's time to put the brakes on. It's time to repeal Obamacare. It's time to repeal the Financial Regulatory Reform Act that was just passed. It is time to repeal much of what the federal government does. I would be in favor of repealing the 16th Amendment and the 17th Amendment. I'm urging every Tea Party member, I'm urging every patriot to read and reflect on what Ms. Noonan has to say, discuss it with your friends, and begin to seriously tell all of the people that you interact with, it is time to radically, massively cut the size of the federal government. If we don't do it, just think of those videos that you saw earlier this year from Greece, of the people rioting in the streets, of the fires, of the people killed, of Greece being the economic basket case of the entire Western democratized portion of Europe. That's what the U.S. is heading for. If we don't cut spending and cut it now, we're in huge trouble. Read Ms. Noonan's piece. Great to talk to you again. We'll be talking to you soon. Bye-bye.